Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and there was a shocking move done in Dolphins land on Tuesday as the team announced that they were parting ways with veteran linebacker Kyle Van Noy. What does this move mean? What is brewing down in South Florida, and should we be worried that the team is valuing cash savings over winning? As always, be sure to take a moment and hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're listening. Follow us if you're on Spotify, and make sure you're connecting with us on all platforms just to make sure you never miss a thing about your Miami Dolphins. Without further ado, let's dive in.
B-Flow does come from the world of next man up, doesn't matter. Put a quarterback on the bench in the middle of a game to bring in another one. B-Flow likes to switch things up, but everything's pointing that the Miami Dolphins are going the right way. I thought Kyle Van Noy was a part of that entire thing. I guess they view it differently. This is wild, Gumpy. What's going on down there in the 305?
I mean, you're finally building something and you get rid of the leader of the defense. Makes a lot of sense. Smart.
Oh, you hate this move.
I love Kyle Van Noy.
Hey, me too, by the way.
He's a good dude. He was excited, man.
When he was on the Patriots, he'd come on this show, and everybody hated it because he was such a good dude, and he was a Patriot. You wanted to hate him. Then he goes down to Miami. He comes on the show. It's like, I'm a big fan of Kyle Van Noy. I like his Twitch streams. I like the way he said he wanted to be a leader in that locker room, tough, gritty.
So let's rewind. 1 year ago, the Dolphins were entering their most important offseason in a long, long time. Specifically, the Fins had spent 2019 painfully building a culture and environment on which success could be built, the success that now we're seeing hopefully continue going forward. Finishing Flores' first season back in 2019 strong was important, and now that the team was at a point where they could really bring in some talent, they were just starting to cook with gas. There were two guys who came in with a lot of fanfare and buzz during last offseason. Byron Jones, obviously, being the highest paid corner, will do that. Also, there wasn't a lot of expectation that he would become a Dolphin. There wasn't a lot of connections there. So having such a high-priced, high-name free agent come to Miami, that was definitely surprising. The other name early on in free agency that was connected to the Dolphins was the poaching of veteran linebacker Kyle Van Noy from the New England Patriots. Van Noy was familiar with both New England's scheme, the same scheme Brian Flores had implemented in Miami, as well as the former BYU Cougar having spent a lot of time working intimately with Flores while they were still together up north. For this reason, Van Noy clearly felt comfortable with the coaching that he was going to be receiving, and the direction of the Dolphins was appealing to him. He made it known when he signed here, both in the media and interviews, as well as just on his social media, that he wanted to be a leader in building something special. He had experience doing that with the Patriots, and at the very least, he knows what championship caliber play looks like. Specifically, his role in the defense was pivotal in executing the overall scheme. For example, as a weak side linebacker, Van Noy was key in holding the backside of the play down and would often crash down and clean up plays with his anticipation, having seen film, having sort of played against those styles of offenses within the system of his defense, so knowing how he was supposed to defend a certain play, and his athletic profile, his build, sort of being lanky, long arms, strong at the point of attack. It allowed him to fight through blocks and close on running backs out of the backfield. We saw him sort of make those potentially 7-yard, 8-yard runs become 2-3-yard runs because he crashes down and cleans up the play. Although he wasn't the best coverage linebacker, Kyle Van Noy was by no means a liability out there. He was no Raekwon McMillan. His savvy allowed him to tip multiple passes throughout the season. We saw him jump up and fall back into passing lanes as well, which would just disrupt the overall opposing quarterback's rhythm. Huge small stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. The deal that Van Noy signed looked to be huge on paper. It was 4 years, $51 million with $30 million guaranteed. Now, it's important to note, though, that $30 million figure, that guaranteed money, that wasn't guaranteed up front. It wasn't $30 million guaranteed right from jump, and then we'll pay the rest of the $21 million of that over the life of the deal. Rather, the contract was worded in a way in which those $30 million were classified as guaranteed money. The only way that guaranteed money would then kick in and become guaranteed was if Miami was on the hook for it that year, as if they were connected to that player contractually for that season. But the way that Chris Greer and the Dolphins structured this contract, they would be able to have multiple outs at certain points in the deal. And we did see that all last offseason. And I think going forward, we're going to see them cut bait with some players. They're starting to build structure in their contracts in a way where they pay a lot of the money up front, which is smart. You get what you pay for. You give it to the player for coming, for being part of the program. And that way, you're not on the hook further down the line if the player's level of play goes down, if injuries become a factor, if it's just no longer a fit, you're not on the hook for owing a ton of money in dead cap or having dead cap. So the way that the Dolphins structured it, they would have outs, and one of those outs in KVN's deal was after this year. Look, Van Noy had a good year. 46 tackles, 6 sacks, that was more than 2019 anyone produced, and 2 forced fumbles. He had plays that I said just wouldn't show up on the stat sheet. Pressures, which led to sacks. Pressures, which led to errant throws and miscommunications from the quarterback to the receiver. Closing holes in the running game and crashing the line of scrimmage. Doing all of that dirty work. So why would he be released? Is Miami looking to save money this desperately? Well, yes and no. Yes, the Dolphins are looking to open up space in their cap, not only to add the rookie class, which costs a pretty penny, but also costs a pretty penny when you have so many picks, but also to bring in high-level free agents. That's what they can do with this cap space that they've opened up. Specifically, players who can help the team's offense. The releasing of Van Noy will incur a $4.125 million dead cap hit. So that is the size of the check that Miami's cutting Van Noy. That's how much they owe him over the remainder of the contract, just $4.125 million. Again, nothing to sneeze at. I'll take that right now, and no one will ever hear from me ever again. I'll be living in Fiji with that money. But for Van Noy, considering he signed a $51 million deal, that $4 million figure is nothing. In terms of cap for this season, though, even though that they owe him that $4 million, the move overall will still save them nearly $10 million, $9.75 million. That's also a pretty chunk of change, which can now be used on either getting one top-tier free agent or potentially adding multiple solid depth pieces. Regardless, it can't be denied that there is significant savings with this move. Regardless of the player, just looking at it from a cap perspective, there are savings overall by doing this. It's just that no one really saw it coming. There was no reason, at least that's what we thought. Why? Why would they do this? The Dolphins aren't up against the cap. They did not need to drop potentially impactful players just to save some coins. We weren't like the Seahawks or, the Steelers where they have to sort of find a way to get money just to keep the players they currently have. Miami was not in that position. So why? There is a reason that they could do this. And it's because of the players that they already have on their roster. It's Andrew Van Ginkel, the other Van brother, replaced Van Noy. The Dolphins looked at this situation and figured that they needed more capital in order to extend certain players who could be building blocks going forward for the future. So I think this move has less to do with Miami this year and more about what they could do with that money and over the life of his contract, Van Noy's, where they could be spending that money instead. Specifically on young players within the linebacking core. Andrew Van Ginkel, like I said, and Jerome Baker. Van Ginkel is still under contract for 2 more seasons. Remember, he was a rookie last year, I believe a 4th or 5th round pick out of Wisconsin. But if he performs again the same way he did last year, making game-changing plays all over the field, getting invited to wake up with Good Morning Football and talk about his highlight plays, then Miami may look to extend him sooner rather than later. And if the Fins have no outs at that point to sign Van Ginkel, another team could lure him away with a stronger offer. Look, 2 years from now, Miami's, still got Van Noy on the team. He's regressing. He's at 33 years old at this point. Miami's looking to sort of upgrade or at least spend that money elsewhere. And they have Andrew Van Ginkel, who at this point is probably 27, 28, entering his prime and becoming who we hope he can become based on the play he's shown thus far. If Miami has no outs in the contract, they're kind of stuck with Van Noy, and the way that they structured it, this was their out. And so they have faith that they can develop some of their players so that way they can pay them instead, so that way they get more production for 8 years down the line rather than thinking just 2, 3, 4 years down the line. So this move does seem to have an eye on the future, and it does seem to show a lot of confidence in the Dolphins program and coaching staff. So having Van Ginkel and having the money to potentially extend him as that outside linebacker is vital. And similarly, Jerome Baker will be up for a contract after this year, so Miami has even less control. Chris Greer could be looking for room to sign his young linebacker to a long-term deal, which is also a potential play for why this release happened in the same position group. Essentially, the Dolphins know that they have replacements in-house, and now they have to replace the depth that they lost. So now as everyone bumps up, they have to fill those voids. So now, although Van Ginkel was coming in, helping Kyle Van Noy, now they have to get guys to become those guys. And right now, I don't necessarily think that they have it on the roster. However, it can be done in free agency. They have guys who can sort of be added and help. Right now, the name that comes to mind is Hassan Reddick of the Arizona Cardinals. The addition of J.J. Watt there likely means Hassan Reddick will not be coming back. Again, he was that first-round pick. He was mocked to the Dolphins a lot a few years ago. At the time, it seemed like a fit. Although he hasn't seemed to hit for that first-round grade, he's still someone that Miami could bring into the program and use as a solid rotational player, and definitely someone I would be excited to have work with Brian Flores. They also could look to replace a guy like Kyle Van Noy in the long run through the draft. They do have 2 first-round picks, so a guy like Micah Parsons could still be sitting there at 18. We're going to get more into some of these defensive draft prospects, and there's a lot of news and sort of non-football related chatter with Micah Parsons that we're probably going to get into that has put some people sort of against drafting him. So we'll sort of get into that. But as a player, he's definitely someone who could fill in that role. But then there's also guys like Baron Browning, Zaven Collins. Regardless, they can replace Kyle Van Noy's production for far less the cost than he was costing them. That money can then be put to use in areas that need it, like wide receiver. Or potentially, some of that money could be used in bumping up Xavier Howard's contract to ease the qualms of their superstar cornerback and keep him happy so he keeps performing the way he is. Flores and Greer looked at their team with Kyle Van Noy and what their team could look like if they didn't have Kyle Van Noy and could spend that $10 million elsewhere, as well as the savings of the life of the contract going forward. Again, it was a 4-year, $51 million deal. Clearly, they feel comfortable with where they're at. This is either a gross miscalculation and overestimation of talent on their part, as well as their coaching prowess, overestimating what they can do, or they're right. They have a legit defense, and it is here to stay. And Kyle Van Noy be damned, this defense is more than one name. It's a machine, and it's coming for your offense. If that's the way this thing's going to turn out, then you don't need Kyle Van Noy to keep the buzzsaw of this defense going. After the release was initially reported, though, by Cam Wolfe of ESPN and Mike Garofalo of NFL Network, Ian Rappaport came out and clarified that the release was not official yet. Although it was going to happen, and it was and both parties were informed of what was happening, the Dolphins would look for a trade partner first to try and get some compensation for their troubles. And that makes sense. There could be some teams that would rather nab his contract right now and feel that the deal he signed last year in a couple of years from now is going to be a good deal for them, and they don't think that Van Noy is going to fall off. Again, Miami saw he was injured a lot this year, and they had him in their building, so if they feel like he can be replaced, who are we to disagree, considering they went 10-6 last year. So until the defense takes a step back, I'm not going to question Flores. And look, if Van Noy was as vital as some fans feel like he is, then I highly doubt Flores would have let him go just to save some money. The deal wasn't something crazy. It wasn't an albatross sitting there that was, oh my God, I don't know how they can afford this. They could still have this and add more players. But hey, another team might want to still nab up his contract, and rather than having to compete for his services on the open market. A team like the Giants, perhaps, with the connection to New England from that coaching staff as well as on the defensive side of the football. Maybe even sending him back to New England if things make sense, although the deal that the Dolphins got him for, that $51 million with $30 guaranteed, is likely too rich for Bill Belichick. Regardless, if Miami can get cap flexibility on top of a mid-round pick, I think the move is more than fine. I'm okay with it right now, but if they're able to get an asset for it on top of the money that they're saving, I think that's an excellent move for the future. Now, could this backfire? Absolutely. Remember, there are intangibles at play as well. Van Noy, being the eldest member of the defense at an oh-so-old 30 years old. Oh my God, 30. What a grandpa. He was a leader for the Dolphins and someone that other players no doubt looked up to. Van Noy said so himself in the statement that he released following him being cut. Maybe this hurts the culture a little bit. Maybe Miami cannot find an adequate replacement this year, and the defense struggles and takes a step back. We're going to find out. But if Miami puts out another elite to borderline elite defense minus a guy like Kyle Van Noy, then this move is clearly just pure brilliance, because we're going to find out. But know this for sure. Some of the money saved will be going to the offense, whether it's used in luring a high-priced wideout or skill player or in acquiring a veteran guard or center. Regardless, this move was likely done with the hope to help both sides of the ball and help the team. So that's the important thing here. There's no way that Brian Flores is going to do something if he doesn't think it's going to help the team. Right now, all we're seeing is the minus. We just saw the loss of Van Noy. So let's wait. Let's see what it's filled up with. Let's see who they add with the money that they've saved.
Buy or sell to the Miami Dolphins, all right? And what's been characterized as a cap-saving move, reportedly will release starting linebacker and captain Kyle Van Noy if they cannot trade him this offseason. They signed him just last year to a $51 million deal. Again, he was the captain. Some are connecting dots here that this could lead to an offseason move, maybe acquiring a quarterback, Deshaun Watson in the offseason. Tim Callis, show what are you buying, what are you selling?
I'm selling this. The Dolphins got to 10-6 and right on the brink of the playoffs with a good defense that Brian Flores was building. And now you're saving $10 million and getting rid of a player you've got to replace. If this turns into Watson, one would hope I'll be on a show shortly after, and maybe I'll take back some of these words. But right now, no. I'm selling this. This is not the way to go.
Emily Kaplan.
We've officially entered the second phase of the offseason. First half was quarterback empowerment. Second half is all going to be about the cap casualties. This is going to happen everywhere. And hey, if the Dolphins can convert that salary and get an offensive playmaker, I think it's worth it.
Kevin Blackstone.
It makes no sense on the face of it. I mean, they signed this guy to be the cornerstone of their defense, which he was, performed admirably at that, and then a year later you turn around to save $10 million in cap space to maybe get a quarterback. That's not nearly enough.
They do have a quarterback at this moment. It is Tua.
Exactly.
They've invested in Tua, but connecting dots here. Well, if we're letting go a captain and saving money, are we trying to get Deshaun Watson? Ramona, how do you read it?
They better be. I mean, look, this guy signed a big contract and delivered on it. They had the 6th-ranked defense in the league last year. He was tied for 6th among non-defensive linemen in quarterback pressures last year. He delivered. He did his job. Okay, so if they're gonna release him, if they're gonna not make good on that contract they signed with him, they better go out and use that money for something else. Otherwise, I'm like him when he put out a statement. I'm disappointed because I thought I connected with this team.
So that's going to do it for us here today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the PhinsPod. As always, we really hope you got something out of the show. Kyle Van Noy was a fun guy to have representing the Aqua and Orange, and although it was a short time, he did do it well. Fond memories with Kyle, and hopefully he is remembered as someone who helped instill the culture for years to come in this Dolphins locker room. We wish him nothing but the best for the duration of his career, unless he goes back to New England. Fuck the Pats. Please remember to subscribe to the show wherever it is that you listen, just to never miss a chance to chat about your favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. The show itself is available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Continue the conversation on Twitter and Instagram at PhinsPod, and check out the site for news and content, PhinsPod.com. I hope you have an amazing day, and until next time, stay safe. Love y'all.